Hello everyone, welcome to Leesburg Public Library's Books and Beyond show. I'm Tom Wilcox. I am an adult services librarian here, and I am here with members of the Serenity Lakes group, and they are a fantasy role-playing group that actually are here in this area, and they seem to have a lot of fun doing what they do. So I'm going to be talking primarily with Mr. Randy Sims here, but basically everyone's going to be able to talk about the group here. And so Randy, to start off with, how did you all get together?
Well, the organization we belong to is called Amped Guard, and it's nationwide. And so when you go to their site, you can find a local group. We were lucky enough to be part of a newly founding group. And so we started one here in Leesburg, and we've been doing it now for about 3 months.
Yeah, about 6 months, yeah.
Terrific. And well, how many members do you generally participate?
We can have anywhere from 5 to 20, depending on the day. The average being about 10. As far as joining, you had asked about that. People can come out to us where we play and just join in. It's pretty simple. They just sign a waiver, and we hand them one of our loaner swords, and they can join in.
Okay. Do you do any sort of on-the-spot training just so that they don't do something really stupid?
Oftentimes Roger does, yeah.
Yes, I usually take them to the side and show them the basics of the fighting and what the armors would mean and things like that, just the etiquette of battle.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a big subject. I grew up in New York, and in the Metropolitan Museum, the Armorer's Hall is about the size of this library, and that's all the stuff they show. They even have more stuff in a warehouse. But so anyway, you basically told us how someone can join a group. They can actually find a group, or they can just show up and everything like that. But it seems like it's very informal, that you don't actually have sort of this structured thing, sort of grades and levels where somebody can fully participate. So do you find that's really beneficial? Does that work for people?
Yes, but I would also add, because we're a fantasy group, we're sort of like Dungeons and Dragons in the park, where people come out their first day and their first level. And the more they come out, the more experience points they get, and then they go up in levels.
Okay.
So this gives them more skills and abilities that they can use while they're playing. At the same time, nobody's penalized for not coming. It's, come when you can, go to other parks, get more experience if you want.
All right.
And we also have battle games that allow them to up their melee on the side, apart from the leveling and the abilities of the classes that they play.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely appreciate that, because I appeared in some plays where it was really sort of a mob scene. I was in one, we had a cast of 17 on stage at once. It takes a lot of fancy footwork to try and get everybody moved. But so anyway, is there, we were talking about, is there any age limit to the membership? I mean, what's your general standard?
Hannah, you want to discuss that?
Oh yeah, well, for when it comes to fighting, to play with the adults, you have to be at least 14. If you're 14 and older, allowed to play in big groups. But we also have, if the younger kids come out, we'll let them play, and we'll set up battle games for them and stuff. But to actually fight, you need to be 14 and older.
Oh yeah.
But anybody can play,
Okay, that sounds terrific. So anyway, leading to the next question, since you're in that age group, how many teens participate?
A good amount, actually. It's a lot of older generation, but they will actually bring in like their kids or their nieces and stuff. And then there's surprisingly a lot of amount, like when we go to Kingdom events, there's a lot of kids that come in and they just have their parents bring them in. Like, I don't know how they heard about it, but they came out here and they're willing to have a good time. My brother just got up to age and
Okay. I hope somebody doesn't see you as a babysitting venue one Saturday afternoon. It happens a lot in the library. Sometimes kids get left for an hour or two, and
Same with the scouts.
They're always watching.
But, because of that minimum age group, and also if someone between 14 and 18 comes out, then their parents have to sign a waiver so they know
Okay.
what their kids are doing. And then after that, it's pretty much up to them to participate in what we're doing.
Okay, that sounds good. But, I was thinking that, you're sort of medieval based, but not entirely. And a lot of people think this is the totally dead past. But, what would you say, and you can start with you and you could all chime in to sort of tell someone that this is really still viable in the 21st century?
With the weapons training, any kind of defensive techniques you can learn or offensive is useful in the real world as well. For instance, we use bamboo, PVC, golf shafts to make our swords. There's something very similar to our fighting style. It's called eskrima stick fighting,
Okay.
or even Kali stick fighting. They're both very close to the style of fighting that we do. So that can relate to the real world.
That's something. Now, since we're on the subject, I just wanted to point out that the library has a number of things that, people can sort of indulge themselves in. We even have some movies about knighthood, and I understand the movie companies did spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do all this stuff, doing actual research and stuff. So I don't know how accurate they truly are. Maybe you know better than I do, but they at least made the attempt.
Well, I can tell you, for us, as we've mentioned before, we're a fantasy organization. At the same time, we're also trying to reenact a certain period, because it's not fantasy post-apocalypse, it's fantasy medieval. And so, for instance, books like The Daily Life in the Medieval Ages is pertinent to what we're doing. And I would even go on to say that, what we can learn from the past that we try to strive for in our present in this game falls a lot on knighthood. For instance, to be a knight, you have to be the best. Not only the best, but you also have to be one of the most caring within your realm of knighthood. And I say that because there's different types of knights. One of them being a service knight, or a leadership knight, or a crafting knight. Knights are supposed to uphold a certain level of courtesy and responsibility. And I believe that those things are still relevant today.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, we'll start, this is going to be around Robin, so we'll start with you, and then Roger, and then Hannah, and then Isaac. So anyway, what do you all personally get out of being members of this group?
For me, AmpGuard is a hobby of hobbies. And that is probably, to me, one of the best aspects. When I go out to participate, I'm crafting different things. I'm also getting out and being active in the park as far as the fighting aspect of it. It keeps my mind sharp because I'm using tactics when we're out there.
Okay, Roger?
For me, I like teaching people, and this is one of the best places where we get a lot of new people. They learn something, and they may or may not come back. It's up to them to continue the effort. But to teach somebody something and have a valuable lesson in it is good for me. That's why I like the weapons training. But I also get into the arts and sciences. So I like to broaden the horizon there.
Okay, and how about you, Hannah?
I like the creativity and there's the socialism of it all, because I need a lot of creative venues. So being out there and seeing everybody's backstories and everybody's garb and all these things that people have made, it just inspires me as a person. And then it also inspires me to meet other people because it's so easy just, not to care what other people are doing. It's 100% easier to not do things. But when I go out there, it feels like I'm wanted and it feels, like I can do something.
Oh, yeah. And what about you, Isaac?
It's a fun pastime. It is a way to get out there, break a sweat, and fight people, have fun, and just have a good time.
All right, that's good. But really have to think on your feet. And I imagine you have to do the same thing, when you're in battle tactics. And you probably know best of all, Roger.
Yeah. Footing has a huge responsibility for safety for you and the person you're fighting. So after your initial, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, I start training you on safety tips on how to protect yourself and the other people. Because at first it's just so much to take in, they're not going to recognize the safety tips. So after a few weeks we see how you're doing and things, and then we go back over to make you a safer, better fighter.
All right, that's good, because I think that reassures a lot of people who are wondering, watching, saying, well, you know, I have a 15-year-old, should I let her or him, you know, go and do this? So anyway, let's see.
Also, we have referees on the field, so if there are people that are going all out and doing things that are above and beyond what is necessary, they are pulled from the field. So all of our weapons are checked to make sure it's for safety. So everything's done.
But, you know, Roger, what do you like best about the role playing?
About the role playing for me, I actually play a goblin character. So it's a lot of fun just to go out there, because I'm one of the better fighters, and goblins have a weakness. So they get hit once and they die. So for me, it's more of a challenge to see how long I can stay alive against the newer players. You know, so it makes them feel good when they can get me.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Now, this is also another thing, which, you know, we'll start with you, Roger, but maybe we can all chime in. But, you know, how costly is it to try and outfit yourself? Because I belong to the Sons of the American Revolution. We have a color guard, and when you're dealing with real wool and real linen, real leather, and everything, muskets and everything, this is quite costly. And so, you know, what can you say about that aspect?
Actually, this game can be a bit on the cheaper side. If you know somebody that knows how to sew or anything, a simple tabard would do. It's it drapes over the front and the back. It's a piece of cloth with a hole in the middle, and you sew the sides and the neck just so it doesn't fray. Beyond that, you can get more elegant with things like, you know, this. This is actually a bought piece for $50. It's a costume. He's made his own garb. How much do you think this cost you?
Probably $15 worth of material, and then I just sewed it myself.
All right.
So there are a lot of people, because it's a hobby, a lot of people with different crafts are around, so you can ask for help throughout the community, even if they're not in your own group.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this game, like, maybe not so much like SCA or some of the other higher end groups, this game you can come in and spend as much or as little as you want, pretty much, because the weapons and equipment are inexpensive to make. We are not holding people to a certain standard as far as authenticity, because it's fantasy, and so yeah, it can be inexpensive. You can also spend as much as you want if you want to come out in full plate armor.
Okay, well, of course, there's a lot of fabrication involved, because I actually ran into, in 1944, they made a movie, Henry V, you know, Shakespeare's play, and because of the wartime rationing, they had to get chainmail for 500 members of the Irish Home Guard, and they couldn't get the metal. And what they use, what you see on camera when you get the movie today, is crocheted wrapping twines sprayed with aluminum paint. And that's what they did. And I mean, if you ever see the film, I bet you it's probably on YouTube by now, you will see how realistic it looked. And even Laurence Olivier's crown was made of paper mache. So you can do a lot of stuff, and that leads us right into you, Randy, about fabrication.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a really creative use there, and that happens a lot in Amtgard, where we want something to look a certain way, but we're not using the authentic materials to do it. For instance, I like to make shields. Would you mind grabbing the brown one?
Yes.
It appears to be wooden and metal with a metal rim, but really this entire thing's made out of foam.
Okay.
And a coating called Plastidip. And so when you look at the back, you can see more of how it's made. PVC handle. You can see the layers of EVA foam here, which is basically when you go to Walmart and you look at floor mats that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, that's what this material is. But when you look at it from the front, it appears to be wooden.
All right, that sounds great.
So yeah, and as with fabrication, you know, somebody could do that. They could make aluminum chainmail. My son Isaac this past weekend at our Kingdom event learned how to make chainmail, and he plans on making a set. And it is a bit like knitting metal. So yeah, we
Long process.
we do a lot of different fabrications where on one end, and this goes back to cost as well, on one end you may be trying to make something look like something else. On the other end, you may be trying to make the actual artifact that you're going for. So if you're using craft foam and painting it to look like leather, that's one way to do it. On the other end, you can actually work in leather. And there's a range of people in AmpGuard that can help you learn that.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting because I was just thinking that, well, you know, how do you learn how to do this stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because as I was saying before, it's a hobby of hobbies. There are people out there who craft. They make all different kinds of things. You know, we have metal workers, leather workers, knitters, crocheters, people who sew.
2D art, 3D art, yeah, needlework, so all kinds.
Yeah.
Any kind of craft you can think of, somebody somewhere has tried it and or does do it.
Oh yeah.
And we're also very connected on Facebook. So if somebody in your local group doesn't know, there will be somebody in the more national Facebook groups that will know, and they'd be happy to show you, because when you're in AmpGuard, and this may be true of most crafters, but when you have a craft that you like to do, you want to share your techniques and bring somebody else up in it that wants to know how to do it as well.
Yeah, sounds almost like magic. So
Yeah.
tell me about the magic. We'll do that.
Well, there's a spectrum of magic, and you know, being a wizard, I pretty much deal with the majority of it.
Right.
But you have your verbal types of magic, your enchanting types of magic, and then your offensive kind of physical magic. And so I primarily deal with verbals because I'm really quick to get them off and, you know, pointing at people and just shouting at them. You know, who doesn't want to do that? So, you know, we have a specific set of rules for each spell that we have, and an incantation that we have to say however many times. For example, the shove spell. If I say, my power shoves thee 3 times, pointing at you after I've said your name, then you have to run 20 feet that way.
All right.
Yeah. And, you know, there are on-field referees, they're called reeves. They, you know, make sure that everybody's doing that because, you know, sometimes you got the poor sport. You didn't say my name first. Yes, I did. You didn't hear me. You silly. But you also have enchantments, which is where, for example, Void Touched is a favorite one that I like to use. I say an incantation while I'm touching him, and then I tie a little red strip around his arm, and now, you know, he's got immunities to certain types of magic. He's got new spells he can use. He's got armor he can use, you know, so I can buff other characters as well as attack other characters. And then you've also got spell balls back here. There are different types of things you can carry in a bag. Like this one's a force ball. I say, you know, I don't use force ball. Ice ball.
Yeah.
It's a lower level one. I don't use that one very much. Ice ball, you say the power of ice is mine to evoke 3 times, and you throw it at them, they're frozen. And they can't move at all. And then, you know, I have a friendly spell that I like to use after that. After I get them with that freezing spell, now they're frozen, they can't move. And then I have a spell to kill them now that they're frozen. And I'm like, haha, I'm a wizard. And then I run away.
Appropriately enough, it's called Shatter.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention, I mentioned before how we had a Kingdom event this past weekend. At that Kingdom event, the king of our area, which is the Florida area, Kingdom of Neverwinter, granted Hannah her masterhood in being a wizard.
All right.
So now she is a paragon.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah.
It's exciting.
She's not even the highest level yet.
All right.
No, we're proud of her.
It's almost like being a Mason. But anyway, I was going to ask you that, you know, what are your future plans, you know, for the group? You know, what kind of events will you be coming up? In fact, actually, before we go into that, they will be here.
Yes.
And Saturday, June 13th, at our first ever Comic-Con event right here at the library, and their demo is at 2 p.m., but the whole thing runs all day, like from 10 to 4. So we hope that you can come by. Everyone's welcome, and there's a lot of different vendors and demonstrations, authors, all sorts of things going on. So, you know, please come and see us. Like I said, Saturday, June 13th. and coming up right here at the library. So,
Absolutely, yes, and we will be there. And if you're interested in LARPing, come on out, because we want to make our demonstration interactive. So if you haven't already come out to the park and join us there, you will get a bit of a taste of what it's like to be in an Amtgard battle game. Other events that we have coming up, we have every reign, which is a 6-month period, we have a mid-reign and a coronation. And our chancellor here is going to be running our next mid-reign. And so he can tell you more about that, the kind of things that go on.
Yeah, we just had the mid-reign. During mid-reign, we do a weapon master tournament, and it gives you a chance to get the title for your local group for the next 6 months
all right.
as a weapon master. So, and what you do with that is more of a role play title. So you can live it up and try to help teach people to fight, or you can just sit back and learn from others. It's really up to you. It's just a fun little title we'd like to throw in, and it's a fun tournament. During our quals, which is qualifications for the coronation, for sheriff, regent, and chancellor, which all have different duties in the group. So if you do get involved, you do have an opportunity to help out the group if you like that kind of thing. It's my job as chancellor to run the elections for that, and so we have a cultural tournament, which is an arts and science crafting tournament. And then you get judged, and as long as your items meet a specific qualification of scoring, then you qualify. And then it's up to the dues paid members to vote for you. And by getting dues paid for each member, it allows them to have a voice in the group whenever we vote on things.
Right.
If they don't have dues paid, they can still sit and listen. Everybody's open to the discussion, but they don't have a voice in the actual vote.
All
So-
right. Yeah, it sounds eminently fair to me. Anyway, you know what we're going to do is that the group is going to demonstrate some of the things you would see when they're in the park and what you will see at Comic-Con on Saturday, June 13th. And so without further ado, we will start to do that. So thank you for appearing on the show, and thank you for watching.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Amtgard is also part of a larger set of activities called foam fighting. And the reason why is because all the weapons that we use are made out of foam. For instance, the round swords that you see are made out of this Frost King pipe insulation. It has a space for a 1-inch core. It has 1 inch of foam coming from the core for protection. Another style uses blue camp pad that you can get at Walmart to sandwich layers of padding around a core, whether it be PVC or graphite, and then another piece is put around here to add to the padding. The pieces are then taped and covered with a cloth fabric, so that way it's less abrasive. Because believe it or not, there's quite a difference between getting hit with this and getting hit with something that has cloth fabric. We have throwing weapons that are also made out of foam. The big difference with throwing weapons is that they don't have a rigid core to them. There is nothing in here that's going to possibly break you if you fall on it. Spell balls can be made out of watered up material, or this one is a foam ball. Afterwards, you put a cloth covering on it. You can decorate it with craft foam and plasti dip it for better look, such as this down spear and this javelin. And this dagger is also done in the same way. Otherwise, more typically you find the cloth cover, such as with a sword like this. As I was saying before, shields are also made out of foam. This is one that does not have the plasti dip cover on it yet. So you can see this is just floor mats. Once again, the PVC handle, multiple layers.
Hit locations are going to be the shoulder, the arm from the wrist bone up on both sides, the legs, which are going to be from the ankle bone up, the chest, the shoulder, and the back.
And from there, go and pick your sword up. You can do basic block strike, which is a really good exercise for muscle memory. Yeah, he tries to block, he throws a shot, and then I try to block. So it's really, you can tell when you hit. Also, in some battle games, there are armor points. If he hits the armor, I just call armor point, and I keep fighting. Whenever that armor is no more armor, it's destroyed, and the next shot he would throw takes my arm away. That is the basic gist of the battle and how it works. Thank you. Tap in for honor, and then deflect. The fights are usually pretty quick. 2 out of 3 rounds usually. Good. There you go.
My power defends me, my power defends me, my power defends me. This gives me 1 point of magical armor. The power of ice is mine to evoke, the power of ice is mine to evoke, the power of ice is mine to evoke. No matter what hits them, as long as they are touching it, will freeze them after I throw this at them. My power commands me to stop, my power commands me to stop. I shove thee, I shove thee, I shove thee. My power shatters my body, my power shatters my body, my power shatters my body, my power shatters my body. Death comes to you from below, death comes to you from below, death comes to you from below. Come here, you. What? Too fast. By my heart, your left leg is broken. By my heart, your left leg is broken. By my heart, your left leg is broken. And then somebody else is going to kill them after that.